Once among the most wanted men in Iraq, political parties controlled by al-sadr. Remember his name? Well, those political parties won the parliamentary elections in Iraq. The sheikh is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of American troops and is controlled by Iran's IRGC. Here with more, Michael Pregent, national security expert, senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. If only we'd been able to kill al-sadr back in the day, could have dealt a real blow to the Iranians. How does this guy end up winning elections that the American government basically funded?
Right. We wouldn't target him back in the day because you were worried about what his militia would do. He could amass a 10,000-man force in Baghdad just by calling for them to do something. So we didn't target him. Now what it means is, Sadr now won the majority of the seats. He won so because 45% of the electorate turned out. This is the lowest turnout in Iraqi elections since we rolled into Iraq in 2003. This is an anti-American cleric. He is not anti-Iran. He's saying
he's bought and paid for by Qasem Soleimani.
Yes, and when Qasem Soleimani cuts him off, he courts the Saudis. Then he kidnaps Qatari hunting parties. Then he kidnaps Americans, like he kidnapped the three Americans.
So I mean, it sounds like the guys are just a mercenary to the highest bidder over there.
He's Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. He thinks he's going to get made, and then at the end of the day, he's marginalized, or in some cases, I've been asked by members of the National Security Council, if Sadr is who you say he is, how come Soleimani hasn't taken him out? He's never had to take him out. He simply has to pay him off.
You're painting a picture, though, of basically the blood and treasure spent in Iraq is for naught.
Yeah, our one Iraq policy has failed based on the election outcome. You had our man in Baghdad, in quotations, Prime Minister Abadi, came in 5th in Baghdad, came in 3rd countrywide, 3rd to al-Sadr's party, and 2nd to Qasem Soleimani's party, the Fatah Party, which has murderers like Qais Khazali in it, Laith Khazali, the Badr Corps, Kitab Hezbollah. All these parties now, they did better than Abadi did, and now they are looking to form government.
So fair to say American influence in Iraq is not exactly what we paid for in blood and in treasure.
Right. They're happy to take our treasure. They're happy to kill Americans,
blood, yeah.
Right? But we don't have influence. But that doesn't mean we should leave Iraq because, again, ISIS hasn't been defeated. The IRGC Quds Force is playing in northern Iraq and Syria. But does it mean
we need to change strategy? We all need to make sure the Iraqis get the message that we're not going to allow this to happen anymore?
Well, a $20 trillion economy only works when you use U.S. levers of power to force Baghdad to tilt back towards the U.S. and their traditional bulwark status in the Middle East, a bulwark against Iranian expansion.
We've seen President Trump be willing to use big levers of power in the past. Why do you think we haven't seen the brass knuckles come out with the Iraqis yet?
We were hoping for an Abadi victory. Again, I've always said that Abadi simply gives us a mask that makes Iraq look better than it really is. He's still Soleimani's guy.
What are the brass knuckles? What real options does the United States have?
Well, we've seen an Iraqi member of Prime Minister Abadi's party sanctioned by Treasury for funneling money and laundering money for the IRGC Quds Force. So that's a lever.
Sanctions are sanctions. But when do these guys get the message, hey, either you play ball by our rules or there's a problem?
It's once we start putting them back on the joint targeting list and start making them targets like Israel is targeting them in Syria. These are Iraqi militias. These are Iranian Quds Force commanders that Israel is targeting in Syria. We do not have the authorization to target these militias.
When you say we don't have the authorization, President Trump could give that authorization.
Yeah, he's basically said it. He's warned Iran not to attack Americans in Iraq and not to attack Americans in Syria. But the AUMF does not allow us to attack IRGC Quds Force militias. Secretary Mattis is against it because he thought they'd walk away from the Iran deal. The Iran deal is no longer a constraining measure on the Secretary of Defense or the Defense Department. And these Quds Force militias and the Iraqi militia leaders that have killed Americans, I'm talking about al-Sadr, I'm talking about Qais Khazali and Muhandis. And Sadr, of course, has killed Americans in the past, but those two guys, Qais Khazali and Muhandis, should go back on the joint targeting list.
And by joint targeting list, that's targeted to be killed, drone strikes, etc.
They have threatened to kill Americans if they
have killed Americans.
Yeah, they have, and they believe they can exit us with violence. And if they start making those moves, again, sanctions are never enough. Well, we need to have hard power in order for smart power to work.
Well, in a way, they've won as we continue to pull back and have less influence in Iraq. Michael, appreciate your insights as always. Thank you, sir.